All right. I see we've got some people in the live here. I should have planned slightly better. Ben is in an Uber on his way to his apartment to start with this. So we'll just start with live for now, and we'll start recording as soon as he gets in here. But we already got some people in the comment sections here. Pocket Watch is back. Sorry, I had to mute that. Pocket Watch is back. He says, looking forward to post game, dual MVPs, KD and Jalen, co MVPs. If you've listened to it for a long time, we used to do some co MVPs, and now we are adamant that we will not do co MVPs because honestly, MVPs it's more for discussion, you know. So I think it actually brings in some more hilarious arguments when it is this tight of a pick, and then also this team has been such a good like it's been such team wins recently. You know, we had that Jonai Broom 30-point victory that really was easy to name an MVP, and everything else has been so team oriented. It's been fun to discuss who's bringing that little element here or there that puts us over the edge. We got some other people in here. Ben C. Are three blocks and two steals worth more than 4 points? If so, Jonai gets the MVP. Hey, it's not always about the box score, in my opinion. Adolf Matiti, Adolf Matiti. I'm going for it. Timer is good. We're trying it out. I should have asked Ben earlier exactly what time I should have put on there. I was just trying, like, itchy trigger finger, I guess, on trying to get the timer going, like right after the game to catch everybody. I'll look at Reddit real quick here. I put up on Reddit asking for MVP votes. We got AU Bear saying, got to be Jonai. I know the stat sheet says it all, though. And I don't know. I don't know if I agree. I know Jonai had quite the stretch there where he had a block or two and an alley oop, but he had a 3 point block that led into his own transition bucket where he dribbled all the way in and I believe ended it with a 3 point play. So that was pretty incredible. You don't see that for big centers every day. I know you wouldn't see that from Austin Wiley in the past. Even Walker Kessler was a little too big to do that. He might have done it one time in the past, but that was interesting to watch and kind of a fun little spell from him. But he was a little quieter in the first half. It'll be interesting to see. He came back to make a big impression for the NBA this season. He wanted to hit those 3 pointers. He wanted to kind of come back and launch himself into the first round. Early in the season, he was the man. I mean, fed him for that 30-point game. And last year, he had to be the man because there was nobody else picking up the ball. So we had to work it down to him. It wasn't a very Bruce Pearl type offense where we had to constantly work it down to him, but he was really good at it. This year, we started off a bit like that at times, and now we've really the times we've looked way better. He has not had to score a lot, and he's still getting his. He got 16 points tonight. I believe a double double. Yeah, 13 rebounds. So still incredible. And three steals, three blocks. What am I talking about? He's right there with Jalen and KD, and I don't even know if KD what he end up with. I know we're all very excited for his 1,000th point. Let's see. KD Johnson, 13 points, two rebounds, two steals. I wonder what his steal, yeah, if he's going to be close to any records with steals. I mean, maybe it's just because he does it so dramatically. I'll be curious to look at the record books for steals. Ryan says, didn't expect much from this game. Glad we got to win and move on to the next game. Also said, who is your all-time favorite basketball player? I guess that's for the people in the chat. Please let him know who your best basketball player is. Mine's definitely Charles Barkley, of course, but I enjoyed Bryce Brown a couple years back, so that was a lot of fun. Actually, I take it both back. Number one, and we got to interview him, Simeon Bowers. That's my boy. That's the sixth position. No one else plays sixth position like Simeon Bowers. That's what Bruce Pearl called it when we brought him on the podcast. What else we got here? Adol said, Jonai stuffed the stat sheet tonight for sure. I love that. Ben loves saying stuff the stat sheet. Ben C says, a backwards alley oop. Yes, I almost forgot about it. We showed some interesting athleticism tonight. That backwards alley oop, Jalen, after he scored his 1,000th point, had a one-handed alley oop where it felt like Trey had the pick of the litter there between Broom and Jalen and chose the more difficult alley oop with Jalen just because we were all hyped off that 1,000 points. How fun was it to have a game like this where it was not going to be a big deal? In fact, halfway through the game, I was about ready to hit the snooze button myself and fall asleep. And it's good we have that. It's amazing we have that because in the past we used to struggle with this kind of stuff. It used to be so frustrating to watch. Now we get to kind of cruise and half do it, half watch it on something like this. But how fun was it to have two guys go over 1,000 during it to kind of give it that extra oomph, that extra exclamation point? Otherwise, we might not have remembered this game. I believe USC played ASU before this on Tuesday in the Acadome. I'm a Montgomery, Alabama boy, so it's interesting to see them end up in the Acadome. I feel like if I still lived there, I would have gone to the game back in high school or something like that. Trying to look up the score here. Ends up if you type ASU, they believe you're talking about Alabama State University or Arizona State University. But I believe we blew them out a little better. No, actually, same amount. We won by 20 points. USC won by 20 points. So evened up there, but they did have to play away. Oh, I'm surprised to see we only shot 25% from three. That's something you watch in these games. Yeah, Ryan says can't believe they play in the academic. I feel like that it comes from a place of trying to support the HBCUs, and they're a team from California and they're coming in and they want to kind of figure out a way to do something interesting while they're over here and kill two birds with one stone. We'll start recording here in a minute when Ben shows up. See some other thoughts just looking down the board here. Denver Jones with 3 points. It would have been nice to see him shoot well. Like I said, we saw 25% from three this game. When I'm watching some of these bigger talent gap games, the things I'm kind of watching are things that still are relevant in the next game. Like if we out rebound a team and have a lot of fast break points and things against a team that's way less talented than us, I'm not like super impressed by that. I'm usually watching the shooting. I'm watching, make sure no one gets hurt, of course. So shoot 25 from three is not great. I would have loved to see Denver finish a drive or two. He did have one, I believe, where he and one finished through contact. But before that, I was texting. I was frustrated that he had not finished very many drives. And we don't need him to finish a ton of drives, but he needs to be competent, especially against Alabama State. He keeps getting blocked from behind, doing kind of a finger roll into the goal, and it's I don't know what he needs to do differently, but it's not competent right now. Pocket Watch says the Pac-12 did a thing where they played HBCUs. Oh, I didn't realize more teams were doing that. That's great for them. Love to see it. Do you know what other teams did that? Adolph said Denver Jones' lack of aggression and confidence shooting the ball has been disappointing so far. I really expected from the way we recruited and the way we talked about Denver Jones coming in. I think he was averaging 20 plus at FIU. We knew it was going to be a talent gap or a talent jump up to the SEC, but we're not in the SEC. First of all, right now we're playing Alabama State University, so you think he would do that. Second, yeah, he's not as aggressive. I thought he might be like a ball hog. We're going to give him the ball, and he's going to be the guy that's going to be our leading scorer. He's going to be shooting everything. He's going to be hunting for a shot. We really kind of had to run plays for him to get his shots. He's got this great curl around off a screen where he hits threes at the top of the elbow. That's been pretty good. But yeah, he's not the guy I imagined. I thought he'd be able to drive better. I thought he'd be hunting for a shot more than letting it come to him. But ultimately, now that we've seen how the rest of the talent on this team has developed, maybe it's a good thing he's just a sharpshooter. It's not what I expected, but I think overall it's a good thing. Come SEC play, we might have a night where we wish our two was a little more aggressive, but I think Matt likes to talk about it. There's only so many shots you can take. There's only, we have five different guys out there at starter that kind of are all could take it, other than maybe Chris Moore. But when CBM comes in, Broom, Jalen, CBM, Denver, Aiden, only one person can shoot the ball. So I guess it's a good thing that we kind of have a guy to kick out to right now. I'll be curious I don't think, Bruce never likes to change his starting lineup. It was actually very interesting that he changed it at all this year, changed it super early to Aiden over Trey. I'll be curious to see if CBM ever takes over. Like this is one of those things where if Chris Moore, if he ever gets hurt for a game, that's game over for him as a starter. It's also interesting to see Lior still playing. Maybe this will be good. I mean, I think come SEC play, I think both of their minutes will shrink up a bit. My box score I have up does not have the minutes on it right now, but I think we're seeing less and less Chris Moore and Lior. Oh, here we go. Chad Baker got 18. Chris Moore 14. Yep. Lior got 8. Lior had some funny little moments. Did he try to dunk on them in transition? Did anybody else see that? He got the foul call. He went up like he was going to dunk that thing. Has he dunked? I think he did dunk one time actually, didn't he? In transition, I think. But he definitely wasn't going to dunk on somebody. So I guess that was just a clever vet play to finish and get that foul call right there. He's also got some decent I think he stole one off an inbounds. That was pretty cool. I'd love for him to hit some more threes and at a conference. I don't know if this will be his last year or not, but what a great, no one's got a better 11 man. people have better backups than Leo, but no one's got a better 11 man. And thank God for the last couple seasons and really great still at the three position because we didn't know how CBM was going to turn out. And we still, I mean, we'll still see what CBM's ceiling and floor is come the SEC if people start bullying him or not. Here's another refreshing thing. Since we're just live and haven't started recording yet, we're going to do an SEC preview like we do every year, which is always surprisingly one of our top listens. I think people kind of check out sometimes and then they want to come back in SEC Blend. They need something to listen to figure out what's going on. We're going to have to go over if it's a good or bad thing that Wendell's not on this team. Oh, here comes Ben. So that's a little sneak peek. So here comes Ben, everybody. I know you've all been waiting for Ben. Ben's in the house. Finally, the people have been waiting.
Hold on one sec, Jax. I can't hear you. I know you're into it.
I just been ranting. What else we got? Ben C said favorite play from the game. Mine was when they went to zone and watched Trey and Jalen identify it. Jalen drifted to the free throw line for the mid range pass and shot. I think you're foreshadowing here my MVP pick because I think we're gonna miss the zone buster, Jalen Williams. That guy, man. You almost wish they could play zone every time for him. He would go off every game if they played zone because it gives him this role where he has to be aggressive, where we have to work on the ball. And that's how he thrives because he's not going to go get it by himself. He's not going to ask for the ball. But when it's a set play of that zone busting, he's all over it. Broom does it well too. I was extremely happy with the different, like basically both of them, both Jalen and Broom, every time they did shoot it during a zone, they made it. And they weren't easy shots necessarily. They were mid range floaters that you're not always sure are going to go in with a guy in their face. So good for them. And I mean, you just have a game where they're off on that and the zone works and they stay in the zone and we're screwed. But they busted it wide open again. Jalen's that's his specialty. We'll start recording in just a minute as soon as Ben's audio is good and everything.
Oh, I'm good, man. I just couldn't hear you for a quick second there. I had to change the output.
All right. We'll get it going then, guys. Here we go.
Oh, I got to pull
Should
up the YouTube chat.
All right, here we go. All right, guys, we have been live on YouTube for a bit, but Ben is in the house, and we have just come off of a 20-point victory over the Alabama State Hornets, 82-62. My Montgomery Alabama State Hornets have gone down. It was not the most exciting game in the world. It was one of those classic out of conference kind of lulls after some really good games we played against big teams like Indiana and whoever else, USC just last game because ASU also played USC the game before in the Acadome. But it was just fun. Both KD and Jalen went over 1,000 points this game, which gave this game a lot more gravitas than it would have had otherwise. It was fun. It was fun to watch, and honestly, don't take these for granted. Pre Bruce Pearl, these were more don't embarrass ourselves games and worrying all day if we're going to embarrass ourselves, worrying ourselves. Early on in the game, it was tied up for probably the first maybe even 10 minutes. It was kind of a later than it should have been probably. But
Not quite 10 minutes, but yeah.
yeah, but it was, we didn't start off super strong. And if it wasn't for Bruce Pearl and what he's built, he
Oh, Jackson, you froze up on us, man. I hope this doesn't carry over to the pod. It's probably going to carry over to the audio a little bit. But as Jackson was saying, you got to appreciate what Bruce Pearl has done for this program. It's been so incredible to go from a team that opened a brand new arena and lost its first 3 games to I don't know how many sellouts we've had in a row. I'd have to go back and pull that up. But what I do know is this is 50 straight non-conference home wins. Jackson is right. You can't take these games for granted. Look around the league today. I mean, we just saw it with USC last week. They brought in the number one freshman in all of the last recruiting class. They brought in the son of LeBron James. And what do? They dropped a game at home. Oh, well, if you're live on YouTube, you're getting to enjoy some of these incredible technical difficulties. We just lost Jackson there. His computer died, so I think that means we're going to have to restart the audio record. But oh, Ben C in the chat says we're all here for Ben anyway. That makes me feel better. We did just hit 200 subscribers on YouTube, which is awesome. We got 4 people still in here somehow watching, even though it took us a little while to go active after the chat. Um, if you want to ask any questions right now, now's the time to get them in before we get Jackson back in here and we get up and recording again. I was not able to fully watch the game. Once again, we were in a situation where I was having to listen to the audio broadcast, follow the Gamecast on the ESPN app. Auburn has a great sports app for everything overall. It's a pretty incredible setup. You can listen to all of your favorite sports, including women's basketball. Women's basketball team, they're on a little bit of a tear right now. But like Jackson was talking about, you cannot take these non-conference home games for granted at any point in the year, particularly when you're in a situation for a letdown. I mean, we just came off a massive win over USC. It would have been a really easy time um, to have a letdown game. And we didn't cover the spread. You know, good teams win, great teams cover. But Alabama State has been getting some fantastic guard play this year. And we're always worried about our defense from the guard position, whether it's Denver and Aiden out there or whether it's Trey and KD. Going up against star guards is always a challenge. We're an aggressive team, which is great. But on the other side, you know, that gives you a chance to send them to the foul line a lot. It makes the game a little bit harder to predict when you're dealing with situations where you've got really talented guards coming in. All right, so we got a couple of other things in the chat here. Adolf Mati, I agree, man. We got to get Matt back on the broadcast more. Matt is our stat guy. If you're a fan of the high-end analytics, which you kind of need to be in basketball, you love your nerds. You love your stat guys who can explain what you're seeing in a mathematical way. And that is Matt for our podcast for sure. He's the numbers guy. He loves all the weird stats. He brings all the really good history. So I'm looking forward to taking my seat back on the bench and listening to Matt on the broadcast a little bit more. Pocket Watch wants to know if my mom posts on the bunker. Yeah, she does. I take no accountability for any of the things that she says. And I know that I don't ask her to promote any of the stuff that she does on there, but yeah, she absolutely gets on there. I'm trying to look around the league here today and let's see if we have any big time upsets at home. You know, we're getting ready to go into the Christmas weekend. I think a lot of teams are trying to find themselves a win here under the tree. Looking at the reg teams here, we got James Madison that absolutely won. All right, Jackson's back, everybody. Hold on. Ooh, Chattanooga just lost on the road in overtime. That's going to make Ryan feel a little bit better about one of our last coming out of conference matchups. Jackson, you're back.
That was so weird. Thanks for sticking it out, guys. That's and also impressive on Zoom and YouTube to just keep going when the host gets zoinked out or whatever. That my computer's never done that. It just went away. No, it didn't die from like a lack of battery or anything. It just so hopefully this doesn't happen again. But we'll
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Pocket Watch is saying that my mom is a bunker legend. I had no
oh
idea.
yeah. Yeah, your mom's
Wow.
all over the place. Yeah. She's
Yeah,
great.
you think I've got hot takes. My mom is the queen of Auburn hot takes.
She's super supportive. She likes all our stuff and everything. I've seen your mom on tons of stuff.
Okay, hang on. Ben C says CTS doesn't matter over 20. All right. Okay. We'll talk about that. Chattanooga lost to Milwaukee. That's an in-conference game for them, I think, in SoCon. But well, maybe not. Is Milwaukee? Wow, Milwaukee's a bad team this year.
All right. Apparently all right. I'm
Oh,
gonna hit
they're in the Horizon League. Eesh. I think it's an
sorry
automatic bid for the
sorry
championship.
for
Yeah,
those
let's.
that stayed live on the Zoom, but I'm gonna have to re-record that intro. But it's cleaner the second time, so here we go.
Here goes nothing.
Sending request to you there, Ben. All right, we just came off a 20-point victory against Alabama State Hornets of Montgomery, Alabama, my hometown, Ben's hometown. We won 82-62. We actually started recording for about 5 or 10 minutes before our computer went out. Everyone live on YouTube's been a great sport about this. We've had quite the technical difficulties tonight, but hey, it's fun. It's Friday night. I didn't do this in our original. I'm glad we got to re-record because hey, we won tonight on a Friday night. And I got my Red Mott vodka here, orange and blue with the Charles Barkley statue. So I'm going to take a shot here
Wait, hang on.
to
Are we doing obby
celebrate.
shots? Are
Oh,
we doing
I'm
obby
gonna
shots?
take.
Give me one
I'm
second.
gonna go straight. This stuff smooth. So, oh, Ben's got to go get his now. So you can kind of hear that on the speaker here. We're gonna talk MVP, KD and Jalen. That's something I almost forgot to say. Both went over 1,000 points tonight, which was a big deal. It was kind of cool to have a game like this at a conference that wasn't, didn't have that much anticipation, didn't have that much hype. We kind of stayed close at the beginning, or ASU stayed close at the beginning, and we pulled away. Otherwise, this game would have been quite the snooze fest. But having KD and Jalen go over that historic marker is a lot of fun. They're two of five players on our team now. Ben's got his vodka set up ready, even though it was blurry there. Are we ready to do a little War Eagle shot here?
It's
Pop.
censoring. It's censoring the Redmond vodka, man. It doesn't want the brand to get in there. There we
There
go.
it is.
And you
There it
can see
is.
it's got
Oh,
the
there it
it's got the
is.
sweet Charles Barkley logo. Go grab yourself a bottle right now. They're a great gift for the holidays for the Auburn fan in your life.
We got Pocket
And
Watch in the chat. We got Adolf in the chat. We got Ben C. We got Ryan. Cheers, folks. War Eagle.
War Eagle. Oh man, is there anything smoother than Redmond vodka? Maybe Jalen Williams jumper or Denver Jones at the free throw line.
Ooh,
Jackson,
yes.
20 points for Jalen Williams tonight. Was he the zone breaker we finally needed him to be?
Yes. I mean, that's like the best thing that could ever happen to Jalen is when teams go zone. That's when he thrives the most. All his best games, I feel like, are games where they try to go zone. It all comes down to the fact that he doesn't ever ask for the ball. He's not aggressive enough, in my opinion. But when zone happens, he knows he's got to be the guy that does it. And he's good at it. He's good at basketball. He should be getting more points and playing better than he does. And he shouldn't disappear at times. But when they throw zone, he thrives. And it was a lot of fun to watch. And honestly, it's between him and KD, probably, or maybe Jonai Broom too. There's like a three-way battle, I think, for
Oh,
MVP.
we'll talk about it, but it's hard to go away from Jalen right now. When you look at the rest of his stat line, he had 3 rebounds, 1 assist, and 1 steal. Pretty pedestrian numbers for one of our do it all guys. Jalen Williams did not miss inside of 15 feet. All right, he was 7 of 7 from the floor tonight. He was 0 of 3 from three to finish 7 of 10. But more importantly, for my favorite stat, Jalen Williams 6 of 6 from the free throw line. Clutch.
It makes all the difference. You don't you missed two or three of those, and we're talking about a completely different game. Jonai
Yeah,
Broom had a great game also, just from the stat line. I think he's the stat line winner. But we'll talk about part of the fun of this team right now is such a team effort on all these wins. Other than maybe one game where Jonai went off for 30 points, everything's been such a team win. It's been hard to figure out who's MVP. But the stat
yeah,
line
and
guy tonight was Jonai Broom, 16 points, 3 blocks, 3 steals, 13 rebounds. We love a block party here.
13 13 rebounds is insane. 10 of them were defensive rebounds. You want to talk about ending possessions. And again, one of the things we love to talk about on this podcast is when are these guys' points coming? And Janai's points didn't come in the first half when we were trying to put this game away. They were coming at a time when we were struggling offensively, when Alabama State was going on a little bit of a run and they were trying to look like they might make this game competitive. Janai actually emerged as a scoring threat that we needed him to be tonight.
The last guy you can kind of pick from, I think, in the top three in this game is KD, who also went over 1,000 points. He had 13 points, 2 steals, 2 rebounds. Not quite as impressive as the other guys, but that's on 16 minutes, which is impressive. I think the biggest thing for him is just enjoying that he got to go over his 1,000 points. Uh, Hopefully, I don't know if we have another year with him. I think this might be his last year, but he's been pretty good off the bench. He's been inconsistent like usual, but I think he's been more giving than taking this year overall, which is a
And
big
we've
deal.
had we've had a renaissance at the guard position this year, especially when it comes to our shooting. Our 3-point percentage is up nearly 5% over last year's squad. Now that was over the course of a full year. We'll see how it translates to conference play. But last year, Katie Johnson finished the year leading us with 3-point percentage. This year, he was our worst shooting guard from three. Tonight, he was 3 of 5. He hit his first three. So he was doing a little bit of heat check late in the game. He could have finished tonight perfect. And again, 4 of 4 from the free throw line. So although it wasn't working for him inside, outside his game was strong. He got to the line. Once again, we're seeing him in non-conference do what he does as a former 5-star athlete. He scored 13 points, and they didn't really have an answer for him.
Before we pick our MVP, before we have our real hard discussion on which one it's going to be, I've been putting on Reddit each post game thread asking people who their votes are. International Arm says Jalen, he has so much energy. It is clear everyone on the team loves him. It was so cool to see everybody embrace him when it all happened. And he got this great moment where he scored his 1,000 point, and I think maybe the next possession on offense, Trey threw up this great alley oop to him, and he kind of choose between Broom and Jalen. It was either one. He chose a harder alley oop, I think, to like celebrate with Jalen. I feel like in the moment, and Jalen one handed dunked it. And to be fair, Broom also not long before that had a reverse alley oop finish. So it's been fun to watch those. AU Bear said, "Got to be Jonai. I know. The stat sheet says it all, though." And I'm like, "All right, AU Bear," which is he's a Reddit legend. I know we're talking about the bunker in the chat here on YouTube, but in Reddit, AU Bear's a legend. Ribs and Whiskey said, "Jalen, and Merry Christmas, you filthy animals." Ribs and Whiskey, thank you. Merry Christmas to the Reddit gang. Merry Christmas to
And a
Ribs
happy
and
new year.
Whiskey. Yes. So who's your vote?
As much as I want to give it to Janai, I think on a night where Jalen scores his 1,000th point, where he plays a complete game, sort of like we needed him to, his scoring came at key moments. He dropped another 20-pointer, which we're used to maybe one of those a season from him, but he was key tonight. He did exactly what we needed to do. He showed other teams that if you set up in this zone, we're going to send a 6'8", 230-pound monster inside of the key, and he's going to make you sweat. I think we got to give it to Jalen Williams.
Storman's in the chat. Ryan Storm Norman. If you have an MVP vote, you better get it in. Our last chat here, the Canoe Man says it has to be co-MVPs with both Katie and Jalen going over 1,000. He also says, however, if you were choosing one, it's Jalen, and that's how I feel too. And we don't choose. If you've listened long enough now, we used to do occasionally a co-MVP. I mean, when Walker Kessler and Jabari Smith are both on your team going off for 20 plus, it's hard to choose, but it's a lot more fun discussion if you have to. And my reason I'm choosing Jalen over Jonai or KD or anybody else on this team is because he busted that zone. And I'm always worried after some of our past teams that we're going to pass that ball around the 3 line and just jack something up. And when we're shooting 25% from three tonight, even at home, if you don't bust that zone, if you don't hit those hard floater twos in the center's face, we're absolutely screwed. And we've kind of grown too used to the fact that Jalen is so good at busting that zone. We played what, Syracuse a year or two ago.
Oh
Same thing.
yeah.
I think that was in the Bahamas, and Jalen just roasted them. And that's a good zone. That's a famous zone by a famous coach. And Jalen, it's just where Jalen thrives. I think we'll be looking back, kind of like we do at KD's ability to just intercept a ball, to steal a ball. I think we'll be looking back at Jalen being like, man, he maybe didn't reach his 10 out of 10 potential, but when he had a zone, he killed it. And we'll have a team in the future that's not good against the zone, and we'll be just crying to wish we had Jalen back again. So that's why I'm naming him MVP.
Yeah, I agree. Jalen Williams, you earned it tonight. You were a dog inside. You played a complete game. You got 1,000 points for the year. Katie, no slight to your game. We love you in non-conference, but tonight it's got to be Jalen Williams.
They put a stat up there for 1,000 points. It's really cool to see Jalen and KD go over 1,000. What a great career accomplishment. They had the rest of the guys. You probably didn't see the stat. Do you want to guess the other three guys that are over 1,000? And on top of that, do you want to guess who's the person that scored the most points in their career on our team right now?
Oh, I don't even want to guess. That's active on our roster right
It's
now.
active on our roster because there's
So I know
five
Den.
guys. There's five guys over 1,000. Two of
Oh, okay.
those is Katie Johnson and Jalen Williams.
So Denver Jones has got to be one. I'm gonna say Janai is another. He's been around the league for a while. And
This
then,
next
oh
one's the hard
man,
one. The next you got,
yeah,
all right, I'm gonna go ahead and say you got 4 out of the 5 so far. The last one's tough.
you know,
You only get one
I
guess. One guess. I'm not giving you any
if
more.
if it's gonna be one guess, I feel like it's got to be Chad Baker Mazara. He's the only one that's been around long enough.
Nah. It is Cheney Johnson. He was
Cheney John. Oh,
thriving at
that's right.
UAH, my man. He's like 5 years in now.
I should have known. He roasted us for 15 when he played us in an exhibition match. Cheney
Who's
Johnson getting buckets.
who's your guess for most points ever in a career on our team that's leading?
Oh, most points ever. I feel like it's got to be either Denver or Janai. I'm gonna go with Janai.
You're right. You're right. Jonai has 1,600 points, 1614. Cheney's actually
Wow.
in second with 1,240. Denver with 1,040. Which did Denver go over 1,000 on this team? And I missed it maybe in
Yeah,
the
that
first
was
game.
that. No, I think that was first or second game. It
Okay.
was super
Yeah.
early on in the year. I think it was against Southeastern Louisiana when he got his 1,000th point.
If you're in the chat or if you have Twitter access or anything like that, it'd be interesting to know if we have anybody else close. I don't know.
Oh
I don't
man,
know.
Canoe Man is roasting me in the chat. He knew it was Cheney Johnson. He averaged 14 points a game at UAH.
Oh wow. That's so cool. We have 5 players on there and really cool to see a historic moment. Like I said, it's even better that it's a game like this where we didn't have other things to cheer for already. So it was kind of fun to bring an extra oomph to this game. Some other players I want to talk about in this one. You know my guy. I always want to talk about Chad Baker Mazara. He had another great play in this game, a 3-point play where he was kind of going into the basket. He just draws fouls so well. It's something about the lankiness of him that people overextend on him or something. And he finished through contact, got the 3-point play. I would have loved to have him hit a three this game. That's what I'm watching now. I think we've kind of learned he's actually a decent driver and a really good with jump shots. Now I want him to see him consistently hit the open three. That would take this team to another level. And that's part of the issue with this 25% 3-point shooting. Another one, let's see where would Aiden 2 of 6 from three. Okay. No other starter hit a three besides Aiden Holloway.
Yeah, and Aiden once again is had the most important stat of the night. He had 4 assists. Trey Donaldson also finished with 4 assists. We didn't assist as well as a team as we have been previously, but part of that I think is just due to the nature of the game. This game didn't demand a ton from us in terms of our assisting ability. It was a little bit more of an ISO one-on-one. We just had better horses from the start. I think you look at Janiyah and Jalen's numbers specifically. Once we got them into the ball, into the lane tonight, they created their own shot. And so that went a lot of the way towards taking away our assist game. We know we did have some sweet flying Tigers tonight. And obviously, Trey and Aiden both finishing with 4 assists apiece is pretty incredible. Unfortunately, we finished with 18 turnovers. I didn't really pick up on this from listening to the radio broadcast. So, how would you grade our ball security in this game?
Oh, early in the game was bad. It was just so sloppy out there. I felt like I wanted to like Bruce brings in gets people hyped for these kind of games, and that's big respect for him that we've had such a long streak of out of conference games that we haven't lose. But this one we did feel a little sluggish. I don't know if it was the longer break or the fact that we're playing Alabama State. I thought maybe the ranking thing. There's we're still not ranked somehow. Like we definitely deserve to be
Somehow.
ranked, and it seems like maybe the only good part about that is that it keeps us motivated. It didn't seem like that at the start. We just seemed kind of sloppy. We weren't hitting our shots. It kept ASU in it for the first almost 10 minutes, maybe 7-8. It was tied up. And it all came down to the fact that we just were constantly turning the ball over. At one point, we had 6 turnovers, and Bruce was literally letting the team know with 6 on his hands. We're doing that's 6 turnover, guys. Come on. So
Wow.
I don't know if I could diagnose exactly what was going on. I mean, maybe just laziness, not bringing the motivation factor. But we turned it around eventually. Most of those turnovers, the 18, I guess maybe the first 10 maybe felt like was like in the first 10 minutes. And then after that, it felt like we really smoothed it out.
Yeah, ASU beat us in the steal game tonight. They finished with 14 steals to our 11, but we did have 14 assists to their only 7. So even though our steals weren't as many as theirs were, I would wager they were probably a lot more impactful. We also completely obliterated them on the glass. I kind of had a feeling that was the way it was going to go. It was trending to be a guard heavy game. We finished with 41 rebounds to their 27, but we did tie them in turnovers. Both teams turned the ball over 18 times. So I guess what it came down to was points off of turnovers, which again is an exciting thing to see this team carry through. That even when you're playing against this lesser competition, maybe not playing up to your ability, your defensive effort is still there, even if your offensive touch is not as good.
Who do we usually use for our box score? Justin Ferguson or
Yeah, Ferg
Hokuson?
is where
Or oh,
Matt
here it
usually
is.
pulls it
Yeah.
from. I'm just looking on ESPN right now.
Here we go. I got
I've got a
him.
minute breakdown if we want to get into that a little bit.
Yeah, I
Um,
guess we didn't weren't recording when we talked about that. Or it was like now I'm all confused about what we've recorded and what was live and all that. Make sure you show
oh,
up for the
speaking
lives because
of,
we had a lot of fun before Ben got here, and then now that Ben got here, everything sucks. So
no, it's not that we had some technical difficulties where we missed the beginning. I was vamping for a little bit when I thought we'd still be live. Jackson, this is our 50th non-conference win in Neville Arena in a row.
that's it. I don't know if it's because of the end of the row or not. They celebrated 50 a game or two ago, and then I heard some people say 49 against. I don't know if like we got the stats wrong or if ESPN got it wrong or what.
I think there may be some confusion out there because the official Auburn site post or pre USC had us at 48. AuburnTigers.com had us listed at 48 straight non-conference home wins prior to the USC game. So according to that number,
Somebody
we're
got
at
it wrong
50.
before because I swear we celebrated on the pod a 50 for USC or a game before that even, and then maybe there's something maybe they were just talking about at a conference. No, I don't know. Not maybe non-away games or something. I have no idea why they celebrated
If
before,
you're
but
in the chat and you can figure out where on earth that number came from, we do have Canoe Man reminding us that BP was not happy in the radio interview afterwards. I can understand why. Again, we were a 30-point favorite. We only won by 20. Um, It's rough. Ben C says that was 50 total somewhere at B and E. Oh, okay. That
Beard
includes
Eves. Hold
Beard
on, I got my
Eves.
Beard Eves hat I got to put on.
50 total. Because we lost our first few in Neville. So I'm not sure where that info is coming from.
I got the Beard Eves hat here. I found in some old thing in my house. The final season 2010 hat here. We want that throwback game.
We do. We want that throwback game bad. Hey, speaking of, Ben C wants to know in the chat here, we pass great, but who do you see that is able to drive downhill and finish? Jackson, we've been talking about Denver Jones's game all season long. And tonight, I feel like we actually saw him get to the hole and draw some contact and finish in the lane. Is that just due to an undersized ASU team?
But before you were on, I was talking about how frustrated I am that he can't drive the ball. I don't the way this team is set up, it's not entirely necessary, which is great. We have, if you look at our starting lineup, if you did Chris Moore out, put CBM in. If you got Broom, Jalen, CBM, Denver Jones, and Aiden, you don't really have to have him be the ball hawk. You don't have to have him be the dominant man, and he's definitely not acting like one right now. He's hitting open threes, which is great. He can be our sharpshooter, but that's not what I expected when he got recruited in. I thought he was going to be hunting for a shot. I thought he'd be driving. He got one through contact tonight and finished with an and one, I believe. But in general, he's having a really hard time finishing. He's getting tracked down from behind and getting blocked a lot. He's going up really soft. And this was ASU. This is Alabama State. We worried about the talent jump from FIU to the SEC. He hasn't played any of the big time talent from the SEC. I know we've played some P5 teams, some major mid, P6, whatever you want to call it in college basketball, but they're not been the athletes that he's going to see in the SEC. So I was kind of hoping he would figure it out by now how to finish, and he's not, and I am worried about that. If I had to guess who could finish, CBM could still develop that, but he's a little skinny. Jalen should be a guy that can finish, but the 4 and 5 positions are not a guy that's going to start at the 3 point line and drive all the way in. So you're right, we don't really have a great driver or cutter on this team.
Well, and we didn't see it as much the last couple of nights, but we definitely saw it on Wednesday night. A lot of unranked teams beating ranked teams, a lot of lower ranked teams beating upper ranked teams. With the addition of the transfer portal, the college basketball landscape has completely changed. Teams' ability to get better from one season to another is almost unheard of in college basketball. So once again, you have to make sure that you're not taking any of these games for granted, because a team like ASU can go and grab somebody who's an amazing talent, who's riding the pine for one of these bigger schools, and who suddenly comes down and absolutely erupts for them. They've got a couple of guards that are freshmen that are pretty talented, but they've also got a lot of older players on this team. So I'm not surprised that we didn't cover, but I am a little bit disappointed, mostly because I want to see this team carry over consistent offense from week to week. I feel like we've really carried over consistent defense from week to week, but it seems like every other week we kind of lay an offensive egg.
I wanted to look at some of these stats over here. Uh, Second chance points, I believe, was interesting. 15-4 there. Bench points, that's another stat we've been watching over and over again. It's easy against ASU, but it's always fun to point it out. 31 points to their 20. Points in the paint, 36 to their 22. Fast break points, that might be the biggest one, 20 to their 11. So, I mean, it's just a domination overall. So, like, a lot of these don't necessarily stick out. Surprisingly, only 5 blocks. I believe Jonai had 3 or 4 of them, so I'm surprised to see it's that
Yeah,
low.
Janai finished with 3.
Assists are great again. Everyone's following assists right now with this team because everybody's playing so well with great chemistry. 14 assists to their 7, so good to see our numbers are up there again. Ryan said to our Denver Jones discussion, that's not his game. He didn't do that at FIU either. He is still trying to find his spot on the court. It will come. I mean, as soon as this started happening, everyone started talking like that. That wasn't what his game was, blah, blah, blah. And maybe I'm just ignorant to how good he was at FIU or what his game was, but I swore I heard that he was all over the court scoring. I knew he was primarily a sharpshooter, but everything I heard about him was he was going to be scoring at all facets of the game. And then now that he's not, I'm hearing, oh, he wasn't doing that anyway. So
No,
I'm
we
sure
we
that's
we
correct, but
we really brought him in to be a classic catch and shoot two guard. He has that game, he has that slash and drive game, but if you go back and look at some of his time at FAU, a lot of that was late in the game when the game was already decided, and he knew that folks were having to come further out to defend him at the line. But we do have Storm and Norman adding in the chat the correct take that Katie Johnson is our best downhill player. I think we saw that again tonight. Katie Johnson was either shooting from 3 or driving in the lane and getting fouled. But we have one other contribution here from Adolph Matty. Alan Flanagan was that guy, and I feel like he's been doing that a lot for Ole Miss.
Now that there's not charges anymore, he's playing great, which we saw Denver Jones get called a foul today where he tried to do the classic last year and before charge where you just kind of step in front of the guy, put your hands over yourself, and then you're going to get hit. He got called a foul because this doesn't exist anymore as it used to be. We did draw one charge now, but nothing near the paint is going to get called as a charge these days. And Alan Flanagan, that was his biggest thing. He could not seem to drive without collecting a charge or having to pull up because he was going to collect one if he just kept going. So now that's gone. I'm sure he's doing great over there. He's also a guy where he can be the man and shoot a lot more. I'd love to see his stats. I'm not going to be an Alan Flanagan hater. I think what's going to happen is he's going to score a ton of on us in at the Ole Miss game in Oxford, and then we're going to hate him for doing that. So we'll see how his reception is when he gets back to Auburn. I mean, I was a big Alan Flanagan stan, so if anything, I just feel a little burnt by the fact that it didn't work out and the fact that he kind of there kind of seemed to be an issue at the end where he wanted to be the guy and we couldn't let him be the guy because he couldn't be the guy. Yeah.
Well, I think you're right in that he's definitely benefiting from the new rules. His game was always to be aggressive and bang inside. He's leading Ole Miss in rebounds right now, which is crazy to think from a guy that's only 6 foot. Wait, is he 6'6" or is he 6'4"?
No idea.
Now that
Six
he's
six, I
off the
believe.
roster, I can't even remember. But either way, Flanagan from what is kind of a combo guard position, leading his team in rebounds, says a lot about him as a player. But I think it says more about Ole Miss as a team.
Which
Thankfully,
is
we do get Ole Miss coming to Neville first. They're currently
oh they
ranked
do. Good,
25th.
good.
Yeah, so we're going to get them in Neville first, which I think is going to make a big difference. But Jackson, before we go away from the final team stats, I do have to point out 26 of 32 from the free throw line, 81%.
I knew you would
Free
love
money,
that.
baby.
We
Free
because
money.
we went 25% from three, but 81% from free throw. So that's a bin game right there. I'm frustrated that we went 25% from three. I don't know. Do you know what our year average right now is from three percentage? It's really got to fall off. I was kind of hoping we were
Prior,
turning the corner after a little lull there of a game or two that brought down our percentage. We need to be shooting at least 33% for this team to have a
well,
chance, I believe.
I got great news for you, Jackson. Even with tonight's abysmal performance from three, we're currently averaging for the season 33% exactly from
All
three.
right, that's all I need. Just stay right there. But we are on the borderline. It'd be nice to be shooting more, but okay, compared to last year, did we end up getting to 30 at the
No,
end
we
of the
were at
year
31
last
and a
year?
half. We were at 31.5% from three.
From at last year at the end of the year.
Yeah, at the end of the year.
Wow, wow. It felt
And
like we were
it's gonna
shooting
be
10% all year.
yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see where that comes in conference play. But part of that reason is like you look at Wendell Green Jr. finished last year under 30%. He was 29.5%. Katie Johnson finished the year 33%, but you remember he started just completely terribly as a free throw or as a 3-point shooter. He finished the year hitting some big shots for us. But Zeb Jasper, our starting two guard, 28.4%. Johan Traor, who took way more threes than he should have from that four position, playing backup to Jalen, was at 19%. It was just bad across the board. We didn't have a guy that we knew could hit consistently. KD hit our biggest shots at the end of last year. And right now, KD is our worst 3-point shooter at the guard position, which
Did
says a
I
lot
hear
about this team.
did I hear Johan had a good game in the last couple of days on our chat?
Yeah, Johan dropped 20 points for, I think, 24 total for UC Santa Barbara. So he had a little bit of an injury in the offseason, but he seems like he's finally putting it together.
Good for him. He's one of the rare guys. Well, not really rare even. I think Cambridge is even still around at Texas Tech maybe now, or maybe he's gone. But maybe Johan could boomerang one day. Maybe he can figure it out in a year or two from now, come back. So we always got to cheer for the guys that go other places. We saw how Walker Kessler, we all thought Walker Kessler was going to sign with Auburn. He came, he loved it and all that. Got family over in Lake Martin. He leaves for UNC last second out of nowhere. Everybody's so frustrated, and he comes boomerangs back the second year. So you just got to keep those relationships going now in the transfer portal.
Yeah, listen, man, the great thing about college basketball is ball don't lie. If you can play, you can play. And if you can play, Bruce Pearl's going to find you.
You want to look at our future schedule here? I think we have two more out of conference.
Yeah, we got two more out of conference coming up. Our first one is going to be on the eve of New Year's Eve, Saturday night, a 9 p.m. tip on the East Coast. So once again, brutal for me in Jackson. It's going to be against Chattanooga, who just lost a heartbreaker in overtime. They're currently sitting at 8-4 overall. I'm going to try to pull up some of their stats here. They're another team that's playing their starters a ton of minutes. They got a couple of guys playing 25 minutes plus. They're currently averaging 79 points a game, almost 80. So they're doing pretty good on the offensive side, but I think it's their defense that's really struggling. They're only averaging 14 assists and under 40 rebounds. which is usually the sign of a team that's struggling a little bit defensively. And then coming up in the new year, we've got Ivy League, alma mater of ex-president Donald J. Trump, the University of Pennsylvania, coming to town. Jackson's real scared about this team.
They're leading. I believe I have right now pulled up that we are 19th in the nation at blocks per game. I like to keep track of that because we've had some fun with that the last couple of years. But I believe Penn is leading maybe in 3 points per game, maybe 3 point percentage. Let's check it out.
They're shooting over 40% per game. They have three guards that are
Yeah,
shooting better than
they're eighth.
45%.
They are eighth in the country at 3 point percentage right now, 40%. I don't know who they played. I believe they beat Villanova this year, right?
They did. Yeah.
Three
I think that
pointers
was in
per
overtime,
game.
but I'm gonna give you some good news. Their main guy, Clark Sadgert, he's a senior. He's 6'1", 170 from Los Angeles, California. He is 6'1", and he's playing 35, nearly 36 minutes a game. And you may love his game, but I'm gonna tell you right now, 35 minutes of going at Katie Johnson and Trey Donaldson, he's not gonna love his game.
We just can't come out as sloppy as we did against Alabama State or against anybody like that again and have a great chance. I mean, it was a Neville Arena against a way less talented team. So I'm sure Bruce will be all over them to come out a little stronger, and they usually do. So I think we'll see, especially for Penn, we'll have a little more motivation, and then we'll have our
Yeah,
first
look,
game in the SEC, right? Arkansas in Fayetteville,
that's right. Yeah,
only our
we're
second
gonna be
away
on the
game all
road.
year.
Yeah, our second true road game is going to be in Fayetteville against what is currently a struggling Arkansas team. They very nearly lost to Abilene Christian the other night. They were trailing at the half. They've been beaten by a ranked Oklahoma team, and they've lost to quite a few good teams overall. But they did lose a head scratcher to UNC Greensboro, one of those perennial non-group of five teams that makes the tournament by winning their
Classic,
conference.
classic Musselman early season woes. So we just got to hope that they can do their early season woes while we're still there. I love that we play them early, at least from this Musselman perspective. And
Yeah.
maybe I'm hoping that this is the year where we stop hearing about Musselman because their early season woes turn into late season woes also. We don't have to hear about them anymore.
Yeah, if we can cross our fingers, that'll happen. But don't forget, we're going to have an SEC preview for you prior to the SEC season getting started. We're going to recap the whole non-conference. We're going to talk about how our preseason expectations lined up. I think Ben had some bad predictions in here, particularly about that App State game that we'll get back into, and we'll be sort of predicting what we think is going to happen in the conference race.
Storman says that Arkansas almost lost to Lipscomb. COC stand up. Everybody on this podcast grew up Church of Christ, including three of us that all went to high school together, and then Matt
it's
also Church
it's
of Christ.
it's a 3-3-4 chat all day, every day on the Jungle Podcast.
True, true. Well, I see. I pulled this up also before we head out. Assists per game. Everyone's watching assists the way that I followed blocks in the last couple of years. We are a top 10 team in assists per game, which is really nice. It's cool to see the chemistry out there. They're having fun. In fact, Ben, like I think I texted you guys as like when all the alley oops were happening, like, are we having fun? Because that's all I wanted out of the season. Last season was so frustrating, even though it was a solid season. And I think it saved a lot of record book stuff. And it's good to just stay solid for recruiting reasons and everything. But this year, we're actually having fun.
I mean, look, if you think about last year's team, we knew we were losing some key pieces. So it was going to be about how much can we maintain what we did last year. We were an SEC championship team. We had a couple of huge NBA prospects, and last year was just about holding the line. Bruce wanted to stick with his guys. Well, this year we went out and got some new names. We got some splashy freshman blood in there. We got some great guys in the transfer portal. And man, we whipped the dog crap out of Indiana on the road and USC at home. You asked me which two non-conference games I wanted to win the most. It was those two.
Oh
We're
yeah,
looking
yeah.
we're looking
Well,
like
and you
right
and you
now.
saw it. ESPN did exactly what I thought they were going to do with Bronny James. They made that game so much bigger than it should have been because USC is not good this year right now. They're just not a good team. They have a lot of talent, like we talked about in the podcast before, tons of talent. And man, the ESPN people were talking about, Yahoo was posting about, CBS was posting about, people on podcasts were posting about. So I knew it was going to give us a spotlight to look great as a fan base and to look good as a team. And we blew the mess out of them and made them look silly out there. It took until 80% through the game for the ESPN people to finally start talking about us and how we are actually good. But hey, we got them there.
Oh yeah. And if you remember last year, the first game that we thought, all right, this looks like a tournament basketball team was that home game against Arkansas. All through the non-conference, we struggled when we shouldn't have. We did some inexplicable things that were amazing that we couldn't repeat. we had guys go off and not miss a shot, and we were suddenly like, oh man, this team's amazing. And then they would go on and just completely struggle the next game, shoot 11% from three. We've seen this team absolutely beat the brakes off of some quality opponents. Indiana, they're not at their historic best, but they're a good team. USC, they're not a historically strong program, but they have a ton of talent, and we strangle the life out of them. So this basketball team has the opportunity to be really good.
Did we see that Notre Dame lost to Citadel? Did that happen? Did I dream that? Yeah,
No, it happened.
this is the weird part about this schedule because I've been begging for us to play more Power Six teams or what major teams, whatever you want to call it, because I believe the talent level is closer. I know you can play these smaller teams that make the tournament and it looks better for our metrics, but I want to see us go against a gauntlet of people that are going to be similarly sized to the people we're playing in the SEC. Hopefully, a similar speed, even if the team itself is not great, it's still nice to see. I feel like you can learn more from those games. But man, when Notre Dame is losing to Citadel, my theory is getting tested here. So now we've had like I think people were saying earlier that Virginia Tech game at home, which we're almost forgetting about, honestly, was maybe our best win so far this year, metric wise.
Yeah, metric wise, maybe, but you got to look at a couple of other things here. Notre Dame has lost a lot of games, but they've also lost some quality games. They lost to Miami on the road, and they also lost to Marquette on the road. Neither of those teams scored as many points against Notre Dame as we did.
Ryan says, would you rather have our schedule or Bama schedule and get smoked and lose confidence? It's tough. Like there's definitely a fine line. I think I'd rather have Bama's schedule. I know that I've argued in the past that our 2019-20 team that had basically what Ole Miss is doing right now gained a lot of confidence and would not have ended that season as well as they did if they didn't get to start with that confidence of going undefeated until SEC play. But at this point where our team is with the talent, I'd rather take our shots. I'd rather go at like I know Bama screwed it up and didn't get any wins, but I'd rather take our shots and consistently have that opportunity.
Well, you've got to remember that's why teams want to schedule Bama. You get all the cachet of beating Auburn without the risk of Auburn beating you. I think it's safe to say, even though Alabama has won the SEC several times in the Bruce Pearl era, I think overall we're a better, more dangerous basketball program than they have been consistently. And I think that's why teams don't want to play us. I think if somebody sees a win over Alabama on the schedule because of their value in other sports and because their value is a national brand, pollsters are going to look at that differently than they would look at a win over Auburn. Whereas if you lose to Auburn, you can make Auburn's year and you really improve their metrics. And I think that's what it's going to come down to. I think we need a few more years of success under Bruce before teams see the value in playing us that regularly.
Ryan says no way. He definitely disagrees with me. He also thinks I'm talking about 2017-18 season. I'm talking about the season with Austin Wiley and Isaac Okoro where we started undefeated and we had the land where we were fighting San Diego State, which I just feel so bad for San Diego State. Thank God they finally made the Final Four and had their great year. Could you imagine being a senior at San Diego State and you follow the basketball team and you're undefeated all year long? You were having your just and then COVID happens. Like we think everybody's life got affected by COVID. There's some people that got really roasted by COVID. And San Diego State fans are one of them. So we talk about that season, but they have got to have that in their mind all the time. So I think they put a banner up for that, didn't they? I
I
would.
mean, I
Perfect
would, yeah, for
season.
sure.
Yeah, and the problem is national media doesn't talk about it the right way. They should be talking about how, yeah, San Diego State's a great up and coming program. They went undefeated in that year and they're Final Four another year. So I just feel like they're not getting the respect they probably deserve.
Yeah. But you know who is getting the respect they deserve? Finally, the Auburn Tigers. Even if the pollsters don't know it, the metrics know it, the net knows it, Ken Palm knows it. This is a good basketball team.
Little teaser for our SEC preview. We're going to try to have on a former player to come talk to us about it. We've go back and listen to our Cliff Ellis podcast. That was really cool, honoring the 25th anniversary of the 98-99 number one seed SEC champion. We'd still love to see that team honored on the court. We'd still love to see the throwback jerseys with the tiger stripes. We'd still love to see the throwback game in Beard Eves. We'll take any of them. We'll take any of those three people. If you have a connection out there, we talk to people, but I'm not getting the vibe that there's a plan for any of this right now. Another little teaser for it. I threw this out in the chat, and we'll just briefly, I'm just going to bring it up. We're not going to argue about it right now, but the Wendell Green effect here. Wendell Green's off the team. Would it have been better if he's on the team right now or off the team? And I think people in the podcast have strong opinions on would it be better or worse if Wendell Green was on this team right now.
I think no matter what you would say, it's a different team without Wendell Green here.
Yo, it's different. I'm having a good time. All right, Ben. Is there
Wendell, we
anything
love you.
else?
We want you to come on the podcast when your professional career is finally over. We're ready
I
for
guess
you.
I couldn't remember if we did this on recording or not. Did I shout out the Reddit people on recording?
I feel like we came back out, but let's shout them out again. It can't hurt.
Yeah. So I'll hold on here. Pull them up here just in case you missed it because they had their MVP votes, and I'm gonna put a little comment in our post games on Reddit each time to get our MVPs. International Arm said Jalen, he has so much energy. It's very clear everyone on the team loves him. AU Bear Legend on Reddit said got to be Joe Nye. I know the stat sheet said it all though. We went with somebody else. Sorry, AU Bear. I just, that 1,000 points and that zone busting. Ribs and Whiskey said Jalen and Merry Christmas. You feel the animals. Merry Christmas to the Reddit gang. Merry Christmas
Happy
to
New
Ribs
Year.
and Whiskey. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas to everybody in the YouTube chat. Merry Christmas to all our listeners over the years here. Do us a favor. Do us a Christmas favor here, like your Santa Claus. Go into the whatever way you do this. Subscribe on YouTube. Go review it on your podcast app or on Spotify. Give us a like. Whatever all this stuff is. We've had a lot of fun. We don't usually care about all that stuff, but it's nice to have a growing audience. It's nice to have people around to talk to. So thanks for coming and listening, guys.
Yeah, and we know there's not a lot of Auburn basketball content out there. So if you know somebody that enjoys Auburn basketball, that's trying to learn more about it or wants to learn more about the history, turn them on to our interviews, man. We've talked to a bunch of people from the Auburn program over the year, and everybody says the same thing. We're looking to build our history and build our identity. And there's no better way to do that than with the Jungle Podcast.
All right, War Eagle, guys.
War Eagle.
Okay, that should be sent to me. We're still live on YouTube. Extra YouTube stuff here. Canoe Man, I think you mentioned your COC. If someone gets baptized and as they're going to the bottom of the baptismal pool and they hit their head in the bottom of the pool and they don't come up again, heaven or hell.
Jackson, you can't put this live on YouTube.
I'm just asking Church of Christ theological questions here. I'm testing his knowledge.
I'm trying to figure out which of these Jalen picks I want to use on here.
Also, Canoe Man, please sing all of Awesome God for us.
You know he can.
Pocket Watch. Thanks for coming. That's 2 times over Pocket Watch. Thanks for letting us know that there's another all person going live at the same time. So I got to get more involved with the rest of the Auburn stuff. I need to get on a message board, honestly.
And I'm gonna have to create this graphic tomorrow. I don't have a good picture of
No,
Jalen that I want to use because the only one I haven't been white is that iconic one of him dropping the shot in.
War Eagle Ben C. Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Oh,
All
the
right,
Canoe
Jackson, I'm
Man
out.
says heaven. Good. That's interesting. Ben says purgatory. That we do not believe about purgatory in the Church of Christ. That is not. That is a Catholic thing, I
I was gonna
think.
say, get that Catholic